properties, obviously when it comes to commercial, you want to ensure you hit that specific golden rule and ensure the property is in the heart of any high street or shopping center. You may be wondering, oh, I'm still confused. I don't know what to do about which one to start with. Here's the thing. I've been asked so many times, why have I not been investing in commercial properties? So in this video, I'm going to share with you what my thoughts are, what's commercial properties, what residential properties, the types of commercial and residential properties, what are the pros and cons in investing in both asset class. Hey guys, it's Rahim. Welcome back to my channel. If you like this video or any of my videos, hit the like button below, subscribe to my channel for more amazing real estate investment videos, financial freedom videos, as well as personal development videos. Investing in real estate, whether it's commercial or residential, it's all about your objective. What do you want to achieve at the end of the day, and what sort of investment strategies resonate with you? I've been asked so many times, why have I not invested in commercial properties? I'm not putting commercial properties aside, but since I've started investing about 7-8 years ago, I really like the residential part of investing because it gives me certain things I can get from it instead of commercial. But I'm going to really talk about what commercial properties are, what residential properties, as well as what are the pros and cons, so that you can and at the end of this video you can know which one may suit you. So let's talk about commercial properties. What is a commercial property? Commercial property is a property that is designated only for commercial use. It could be a shop that you see down the road, maybe a corner shop. It could be a warehouse. It could be a factory. It could be a supermarket, and all the shopping centers that you see around you are also called commercial properties. On the other hand, residential properties are properties made for living, specifically for people to live in with their family. So these are the distinct identity of the two asset classes. So let's talk about the price points, okay? In order for you to start your commercial property investment, you're looking about £400,000, because obviously you want to buy commercial properties that are really in a good location, demanding area where there is a heavy footfall. And if you're looking at that, if you're not looking at London or crazy cities like that, you may be looking about £400,000 to kind of start with. In contrast, when it comes to residential properties, you may not be looking at 400,000. If you're looking at the north of England, South Wales, or places like that, you may be looking at £100,000 to start with. So these are the massive differences as well. Commercial, you need about 400,000. Maybe if you're looking at residential, looking at about 80 to £100,000. So that is the price point, because if you want to get these properties, obviously when it comes to commercial, you want to ensure you hit that specific golden rule and ensure the property is in the heart of any high street or shopping center. Whereas when you're looking at properties, you want to make sure that your residential property is in a prime location, like very close to a good school, universities, train station, and things like that, because then that's what you may be looking at. Looking at the prices, you can see here it's 100,000, and there is about £400,000. So in order for you to be able to buy a commercial properties, you require to put some deposit down, and the deposit to put on for commercial property is slightly higher versus what you would have put down in a residential property. So if you're looking at the commercial property, you're looking at probably between 30 to 40% deposit in order for you to be able to even start the process of buying that property. In contrast, if you're looking at a residential property, normal residential property, you're looking about in 20 to 25,000 pounds. If you're buying a £100,000 property, obviously you require 25% of that, which is 25,000 pounds. If you're buying an £80,000 property, you're looking about 20,000 pounds deposit to put down in order to be able to buy that property. And then if you're looking at commercial properties that is worth £500,000, you're talking about nearly £200,000 to put down in order to be able to buy that commercial property. So let's talk about the benefit. Right, looking at commercial properties, I see why people really love commercial properties, because there's a massive benefit of owning a commercial property. One of the massive benefits is what we call long lease. So basically, if you've got a shop down the road, the owner of that shop would have rented or leased that property from the landlord for a minimum of about 2 to 3 years, or maybe even 5 years in some occasions, because obviously if it's a business, they need to ensure that wherever they're at, they are staying there for a long time in order for them to be able to drive traffic to their business, and also in order for them to be a footprint in that area, all right? And also another benefit we have of having commercial properties like maybe warehouses, factories, there is a longer term of rental period, which we call a lease agreement. And normally, if you are going to be renting out properties like that, we have something that we call the FRI lease agreement, where basically the leaseholder will take on the property, right? Basically, they are responsible for everything in that property. When it comes to the roof issues, repair and maintenance, anything to do with that property, that commercial property, the leaseholder is responsible for it. In essence, if you are the owner, once you rent that property out, once that lease is done, basically they are in it, and you don't have to worry about any repair and maintenance, because that's what the FRI document does. However, there are some cons there, right? We all have seen what happened during COVID, right? What happened during COVID, people realized they may not need that shop down the road. They may not need that office on the other side. They may not need that supermarket on that side. So what happened basically, businesses started to close down. When businesses start closing down, that then causes lots of outlets to be vacant. If you go to towns and cities right now, you would see the difficulties commercial landlords are facing, because most of the shops and offices are shut down, because COVID has taught us that we don't really need that shop. We can actually do what we're meant to do in the office or in that shop in our homes ourselves. So that was a massive impact when it comes to commercial properties. You would have that vacancy as a result of technology change. Next, another disadvantage is basically businesses can go bankrupt, okay? We can see again what happened in COVID. People can go bankrupt, businesses can go bankrupt, and then once they've gone bankrupt, regardless how long that lease is, whether it's 15, 20 years lease, if the business has decided to shut down, guess what? You would have actually lost that client that has been occupying your commercial property, because obviously they would have to shut that business down in order for them to liquidate the business. So that's another sort of disadvantage should the business decide to go bankrupt. And also, if that business decide to go bankrupt, they may have done lots of fit outs, they may have structured the shop or the layout of that office in a way it was applicable to them and to their target market. So if they move out, in most cases, if they go bankrupt or they've decided to shut the business down, they may not go in and literally refit the property the way it was. They'll rather you find them, or they'll rather you build them in doing that, which also take into lots of your time and effort to make that property looks like the way it was before. And again, you never know what sort of clients you may get to actually occupy that property. They may need the same fit out, but because you don't know, you are in a limbo of what you need to do with that actual unit. Another massive disadvantage is when companies decide to downsize. Because once they decide to downsize, what they do, basically, another massive disadvantage of commercial properties is when companies decide to downsize. Because when they downsize, they would have to hand some of their units out. So obviously, if you are one of those landlords and they are downsizing in your area, that would also impact you drastically. And guess what? And also, when it comes to commercial properties, there are lots of voids. Once a commercial unit becomes vacant, it usually takes 5 to 6 months to actually re-let that commercial unit, because obviously you have to have a specific business, you have to have a specific license, and all that stuff that comes with it before someone would actually rent that property from you. Let's look at residential properties. So the downside, one of the main downside of residential properties, obviously you are dealing with normal tenant. This could be a family, a couple, a single person, and sometimes the tenancies are not as long as it would have been on a commercial let basis. Maybe they'll take your property for a year, sometimes 2 years, and then they decide to move out. And then obviously once they've moved out, you'd have to get someone else to come and paint and decorate the house to get the house ready for the next guest. And sometimes you may attract bad tenants, especially if you're a new investor, you're just buying properties left, right, and center, you're not following golden rules. You may actually have bad tenants who may not pay you your rent. They not just pay your rent, they don't look after your property, and then it becomes a nightmare instead of an investment. However, if you've got someone to guide you, mentor you, to help you buy the right property, you may not face having bad tenants. Looking at commercial properties cash flow versus residential property cash flow, you can see they are incomparable. Commercial properties makes higher cash flow, whereas residential properties makes smaller cash flow because obviously you are renting to a family, group of people, or individual. Let's look at residential properties. One of the massive benefits of residential properties is you do not require lots of deposit in order to start your investment journey. As I've said earlier, you can look for £100,000 property and then put down 25% of that. You'll be able to start your investment journey that way. That's a massive advantage in order for you to start your property investment journey. The second advantage, you may have shorter term tenancy, but trust me, in most of the times you get long-term tenants. So for example, I've got properties that I've only got one tenant since I bought that property, and they've been there for literally 5, 6, 7 years. Some of my properties, they've never even considered moving out, and they've been paying rent, and they're looking after the property really nice as well. So if you got the property at the right location, following all the golden rules, it would also attract you lifelong tenant that will live there for a very long time, and we call these sort of tenants lifers. Residential property investment is a recession-proof investment. What do I mean by that? When everything goes wrong, for example, when COVID hits, when shops are closing, offices are closing, shopping centers are going down the drain, people were going back home and living in their houses. And actually, when everything was going, people are losing their jobs. The government was actually helping people, subsidizing them in order for them to be able to pay their rent, to pay their landlord. And again, that's one of the reasons why I love residential properties. It's not, you don't have lots of cash flow coming in versus commercial properties, but you've got that steady income coming in regardless what the economic climate is. People would always need homes to live in, and they would always pay you your rent, especially if you're buying diamond properties that generate you cash flow. Now, you may be wondering, oh, I'm still confused. I don't know what to do about which one to start with. Here's the thing. Look at your financial situation, right? Look at your goals and strategies and have a vision of what you want to achieve. If you know you haven't got lots of money to start with, usually before you get to commercial property, you want to start with residential properties first, because you want to see how that works, right? You want to know different parts of properties, what sort of renovations are required, learn that process a bit more. And then if you've got a bigger pot of cash, then you can then transfer that into commercial properties, because commercial properties, obviously, as you know, they require heavy investment, as well as they require for you to know what you're doing, as well as attracting the right sort of tenant in order to make that property work for you. So to conclude, residential and commercial investment, they are both absolutely amazing investment strategies. Okay, I am looking into going to commercial because now I know I could do that. There's an opportunity out there right now, especially after COVID. And at the same time, I will never ever forget my bread and butter, because residential investment is a bulletproof investment that would always help me when recession hits, and it would also help maintain my cash flow. If you like this video or any of my videos, don't forget to smash the like button below. Subscribe to my channel for more amazing videos, because I share real estate investment tips, financial freedom, and personal development. I look forward to sharing the next video.